Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to what came out of not even a comment, but this morning, the morning of the afternoon of this afternoon, I was doing quite a lot of painting, and some of the colors were not quite coming out the way the can was sort of promising that they would. So I was talking about this on the Crawler Canyon Discord, and somebody said, jokingly, with like a laughing face, paint tier list. I can't really give you a paint tier list because they pretty much all work, right? But it did prompt me to think of something. I've done a couple videos on painting patinas in the past, painting on the outsides of bodies, but I would still say that more often than not, I paint the bodies on the inside. And I think that a lot of folk might not know what y'all can get away with in terms of paints that you can use and paints that you cannot use. So this is painting polycarbonate, aka trade brand Lexan, polycarbonate plastic. So do not be fooled by polycarbonate plastic and by things like Fusion, like Krylon Fusion. So you'd have Krylon Fusion all-in-one, Paint Plus Primer, and somewhere on the can it will definitely mention plastic. Well, because of the nature of polycarbonate, for this, let us just pretend that it is not plastic at all, because you can spray this on there and any impact of any sort of severity will cause an amount of it to fall off, no matter how well you prep it. So paints like Fusion are not for polycarbonate, certainly not recommended for polycarbonate. But you can use them. We will get to that here in a moment. We've got, okay, so everybody knows it. Tamiya color. If it has PS, that means polycarbonate. So you've got Tamiya, you've got Spastics, you've got Duratrax, and then you have the two different sides. I accidentally grabbed both. The new Traxxas Pro Graphics. You can get it in the big 13. Actually, this is relevant. You can get it in the 13.5 ounce can, and you can get it in the 5 ounce can. You'll notice that in the Traxxas Pro Graphics, the smallest can they have is bigger than any of the other cans. They kind of go up. Is this a 3? This is a 99 mil, 3.5 ounce. This is 100 mil. Must be dang old wizardry going on in there. So when you buy a can of Spastics, it is legitimately 40% empty, because this one is 127 mils, 4.5 ounce, and you'll notice it's the same size can. So Spastics puts this amount of paint in this can. Traxxas has a 5 ounce can, which is 150 mils, and a 13.5 ounce can, which is 400 mils. The availability of these where you are, I don't know. Duratrax is a Horizon brand, so across this great land of America, you'll be able to find it anywhere. The same goes for Tamiya, which last I understood, you cannot get in Canada anymore. And Traxxas, obviously, anywhere that carries Traxxas is going to have the Pro Graphics. So while if we were going to put this on a tier list, there would be considerations that have to be made. Like, this is 100 mils, and this is 400 mils. This can is about $15, and this can will be between $7.50 and $9.50, depending on where you buy it. It's a quarter the amount, and it's going to cost at least half as much. Duratrax kind of falls in the middle. They tend to be about $9 a can. $9 a can is aggressive, especially for 4.5 ounces, which is under half the size of a normal can of paint. But if we were talking about the performance of the paint, if we're talking about the Spastics, the Duratrax, the Tamiya lays down the flattest of the actual sold for painting polycarbonate. This will go down the thinnest. I would then say Spastics next, and then probably they kind of go in that order. The Pro Graphics is almost like different stuff. You know, you've been trained for years and years how far to hold a spray can. I need something to hold in my hand. How far to hold a spray can from the object that you're painting. This flies in the convention of that. It says spray it at a distance of approximately 6 to 8 inches. I think that might actually be even too far. If you're a person that, are you a runner? Do you get a little trigger heavy and you get the runs? You can hold this can like this far away from what you're painting and you go psh, 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 and it will not run. It comes out like a powder. And as such, you almost feel like you're not getting your full 13.5 ounces. You're not getting your full 400 mils out of it. But in the primary colors, silver, white, black, etc., why not get the big old can? Well, I will tell you why not to get the big old can. I buy them all. I use all of them. To me, it's Spastics, Duratrex, Traxxas, everything. But what I primarily use are paints that are not marketed specifically for polycarbonate, namely Duplicolor, vinyl and fabric, flexible finish. This is, now I have not confirmed this in any way, not chemically, not by contacting anyone to find out. It is my opinion, my informed opinion after having used this for near 20 years now. This and these are the same stuff. It honestly feels, if you have a can of Tamiya PS White, whatever the number of that is, and the HVP 105 White, it's the same paint. It goes on exactly the same. And this was my go-to because it's 311 grams on an 11-ounce can, and for the longest time, these were about $8 a can. Then here in California, the prices go like this. This stuff's up to about $14 a can now, which is still inexpensive when you consider that it is 3 Tamiya cans for about $14, and this would be $21 for the Tamiya cans. But we have a new contender, everyone, available at your local Home Depot, Glidden Max Flex All Surface, which actually comes in 2 flavors, Glidden Max Flex All Surface and Glidden Max Flex Exterior Fabric. Both of these work on polycarbonate exactly as all of these do. They perform exactly the same, and depending on the location of your Home Depot will determine what the depth of colors, how big the catalog they carry is, and the price of the can. But even here in California, they are $7.99 a can. So this can and this can cost me about the same amount of money. 100 mils, 340 mils. This stuff, when they say dries within 5 minutes, they are not messing around. Not at all. I try to use the Glidden Max Flex now almost exclusively because Duplicolor vinyl and fabric pretty much comes in the colors that you would expect. The colors that the interior of a car would be painted. Black or molded. Black, silver, tan, burgundy. They have also one called a sand color. The sand is actually tremendous. The color that Element paints their Zool, Duplicolor sand, is pretty much that exact color. So I keep buying these. Worthy of mention, there's Classic Red. This is Rum Punch, which I bought at the same time because I wanted to see, will they actually be different colors? What is the laydown characteristics between the Max Flex exterior fabric and the Max Flex all surface look like? It looks exactly the same. There is another all surface. This one is called Dark Granite. Dark Granite would be like this color, not this color. That doesn't change the fact that I like this color. Here is a body painted on the inside using Dark Granite and Earthy Cane, and you would never be able to tell that this wasn't purchased at your local hobby shop. I left the masking tape on for 2 weeks and had to remove it with a heat gun and Goo Gone. So ignore any little bleed throughs. But it came out great. And I spent $14 on 2 cans of paint and used none of them. They feel as if they haven't been used. That is painted on the inside. If you want to paint it on the outside, MaxFlex doesn't care. It can do the same thing. We take, not the classic red, we take Rum Punch and Earthy Cane and we combine them together, and this is painted on the outside of a J Concepts Power Master. This is also MaxFlex all surface Phantom Hue. Phantom Hue. And if you're doing, which is basically Tamiya gunmetal, pretty much exactly. There is no paint on this body that isn't Glidden MaxFlex. It is Rum Punch, Earthy Cane, Phantom Hue, and Matte Black. And you can literally paint a body in about 25 minutes because the stuff, it really dries that fast. This is a J Concepts Creep painted on the inside with white, and then the fender's done in black, and then the interior done in black again. But and this is the window tint from, this is Traxxas Pro Graphics window tint. So there are 3 bodies sitting right here on the bench. None of them are painted with RC specific paints. None of them are painted with Duratrax or Traxxas nor Spastics nor Tamiya. And that is not a discount of them. This body is done with this, the fluorescent red, which in the camera looks radically different than it does in real life. And it did a thing where you can see the phantom of the little stickers that were on the overspray mask. I did set it in the sun to cure. And then its windows are tinted with red. I don't know if they show through. But this is done all with these guys. So this is Traxxas, and then Tamiya. There's the red, and then Tamiya clear red for the window tint. You can't tell them apart. You wouldn't know how to tell them apart if you didn't know what they were painted with. And this is, so if you're painting on the inside of a body, you might think, oh, well, I've got to get some of this, or I've got to get some of this. Not necessarily. This is a great example. This is Spastics No Sign Exterior Matte Finish, which is designed for polycarbonate. If you put a coat of that down on the inside of your body, you can then paint that body with whatever you would like, which is what is done here. This is a base coat of not the Spastics, but in fact the Duplicolor Vinyl and Fabric Gloss Clear down first, and then this is Krylon Fusion, but the color was, I want to say Peekaboo Blue. So, little trip to the auto parts store. I did not see if MaxFlex comes in clear. I don't know if it does or not. If MaxFlex has a clear, you know I'm getting some. Because once that clear is down, you are free to use whatever paint you want, because that is your primer. You can go over top of Vinyl and Fabric, or this, or Tamiya PS58 matte clear. Any of the polycarbonate safe clears, you can go over it with regular paint. If you're painting a body on the outside, which in many cases I think looks better, this body is painted on the outside by doing a base coat, not of clear, but of silver, which I think I'm out of. Yes. But it looks just like this, and I want to say it's HVP 103, and you turn around and it says silver on it. So I go over it in silver, and then the outside of this is painted in Magnolia Home Matte Bright Future. And I mean, if you want to talk about truth in advertising, the color of the cap is the color of the paint. This is supposed to be fluorescent red. That, ladies and gentlemen, is safety cone orange. But the Magnolia Home is one of my favorites. This body is done in the exact same fashion by doing a base coat of the Duplicolor Silver and then going over top of that with Magnolia Home Blackboard, which is one of the most unfortunately named paints ever because everybody thinks it's chalkboard paint because it's named Blackboard, but it's not. It's just like a graphite color. And basically, when I painted this body, I did the base coat of silver, and I did one coat of Blackboard. Looks just like that. And then I masked that off so I didn't repaint the grill, which is exactly what I did on that one. Oh, it's like I think the same. These were painted literally years apart. I painted this one about 45 minutes ago. Painted this one in like 2022. So, once you've put down your clear base or your silver base, you can use whatever you want. Magnolia Home is fantastic. It dries very, very fast. It lays down exceptionally flat. I didn't do any sanding on this body or anything, just like I haven't on this one. The Magnolia Home lays down flat. It doesn't lay down as flat as the Max Flex. That is, like, look at that. You want to talk about even. Here in the canyon, we do a thing that I call the 1 hour paint job. And when I say a 1 hour paint job, I'm not kidding. I want to start and finish a paint job within an hour. So I painted all 3 of these today over the course of about an hour using most of what's, I think I've used 14 or 15 different cans of paint today. So how are you doing? I can't give you a tier list. I can tell you what works, and the beauty of this is what works. Like, okay, I can. Don't use Krylon Fusion. It's too thick. It goes down real thick, and that's not its fault. They never intended you to put this on polycarbonate. It works great. You want to use it on other stuff? Krylon Fusion is amazing. It dries super fast. You barely have to prep the surface. For all-purpose painting, Krylon Fusion is fantastic. It would probably be one of my lesser choices for this because I want a paint that's going to lay down flatter. And if I want common colors, if I want the Roy G. Biv colors or the colors that they actually paint cars nowadays, gray, silver, black, in that realm, then Duplicolor Vinyl and Fabric and Glidden Max Flex is going to get me pretty much everything I need. If I want to get a color that is outside of that realm, honestly, one of the best you can buy, Michael's Crafts carries at Iron Lake. This is Potion. This one is particularly pink. They will have an array of absolutely wacky colors. Now, really best suited to being shot on the outside because for whatever reason, the formulation of this, I want to say it's an acrylic. Yes, this is an acrylic. So when it sprays, it comes out like a fog. So when you're trying to paint a body on the inside, you're never going to get up on those little edges like above the windows. The fog just won't get there. It also behaves a little bit like the Traxxas Pro Graphics. I just now noticed the can family familiarity between the two. They both have that hold me very close to the surface. This one says hold can 3 to 10 inches from the surface, which is wild work because we've all heard 6 to 8, 10 to 12. 3 to 10 is pretty crazy. And if you're feeling like your budget, like you feel like Tamiya, the cost of the cans of Tamiya don't affect you, then you can go to Montana Gold Acrylic, which also has an absolute catalog of the most vibrant, saturated, ridiculously pigment-filled colors, and you're going to spend about $15 a can for 400 mils. And $15 a can offends me until I remember this is $15 a can, and you can get the like anodized or color shift colors of Tamiya that are $15, $16, $17 a can for 100 mils. So then 15 bucks a can for 400 mils doesn't seem so bad anymore. It comes down to, what are you willing to spend? What like when I paint bodies, more often than not, it's to keep the dirt and rocks out of the parts that make it a toy car. Like I'm in the home of the 1 hour paint job, and I can do this in an hour, and I feel like this came out pretty good. This came out strongly okay. I have one last note to give you. If you've never painted a body on the outside, you absolutely should. Do it. I have a video about it. I do it in the laziest way known to man. I apply the masks to the inside of the body. I paint the body first silver, and in this case, I used Phantom Hue because I found my can of silver after I had already painted it. Paint it in silver, back it in black, peel the window masks off, stick them on the outside. Then paint your body on the outside, peel your masks off, and throw them away. That's how you get a two-tone exterior paint. So when this gets scratched, this color, the metallic color, will come through, much like how this guy looks. I used to do, I went through a period of doing the work to do the patina, get the sanding and buffing it out and doing all the detail. And then I was like, you know what? If we just drive it, it's pretty much going to patina itself. And it does. And I like that look. I think that look looks nicer than scuffed up polycarbonate, which just looks like scuffed up polycarbonate because they start off very shiny. And then not too long after that, well, I think the leading edge of his hood, not quite as shiny along here anymore. So I bounce back and forth, and if you're using the Duplicolor and the Max Flex, you can do either with the same can of paint. Paint it on the inside, paint it on the outside, it doesn't matter, whatever you feel like. This is the same color on the inside and the outside, and it's a little brighter when it's on the outside, not being filtered through polycarbonate. When you paint one on the outside, the best way to do it is paint it all, still have your masks on, apply your decals, and then go over it with a final coat of clear. And I have spent some not insignificant amount of time trying to find the best clear money can buy. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If you're not painting bodies in great numbers, look how bright that Max Flex white is. It makes the fluorescent not look very bright. If you're not painting bodies, if you never sit down and paint 3 or 4 bodies in one day, just get yourself a can of PS58 to me, a matte clear. It'll do 3 cabs. It'll do a full body and a cab. It might do 2 full bodies, like if they're both tucked. Because you can use it as both a base to paint over with other paints, like if you want to use the Iron Like, or Montana Gold, or the Krylon Color Max is pretty good. Magnolia Home, if you can still get it in your locality. But if you're painting more, then it's quickly, I wish I had a can of PS58 that I could put here. Pretend that this is PS58. So you get your 100 mils, you spend about $7.50 for it. Spastics is going to give you a little bit more. I'm sorry, they're not. And they're going to charge you $9.50. So if they worked exactly the same, buy the Tamiya because it's going to be cheaper. This is not recommended for a top coat because it comes in gloss. They expect you to apply it to the interior of an old Chrysler. So they don't have a flat or a matte. So the Duplicolor is for using as a base if you're planning on doing multiple bodies painted on the outside, or using these on the inside, which again, not explicitly recommended. If you're going to use non-polycarbonate paints, yes, this one is painted with non-polycarbonate paint on the inside, and it came out fine, but you also notice the shape of this body. It doesn't have any of those ledges or things, and I got a little bit, see that? Sometimes the paints, if you go too quick, the black and the blue, they kind of fought with each other a little. So when you start mixing these formulas on the inside, you can get weirdnesses. So we're going to operate as if you're painting them from the outside. And if you're painting from the outside, PS58 is good. The OGest of G's, Tester's Spray Lacquer. 1260T Dull Coat. This is the mattest matte to ever matte. This is uber matte. This is the flattest of the flat. It's 3 ounces. It's 85 grams. So it's the smallest quantity that you're going to get. But it is if all you want is matte, that is the one you buy. Most any hobby store should have it because it's Testers. So it's not RC car, toy car specific. It's more like model car specific. You've got usually available at the nearest home improvement store near you. You've got Fusion all-in-one clear, flat clear. And you know what? They kind of got this one right. It's not bad. Duplicolor 1K clear, extreme matte, isn't even matte at all. It's about the same level of gloss as this vinyl and fabric paint. Never buy that. But the king, the reigning king based on all other factors, is Krylon Color Max Flat Crystal Clear. If you can find it. It needs to look like this. This can is pretty much empty. This is very nearly the same level of matte as Tamiya PS58, but you can typically get a 340 ml can. You can get a 12-ounce can for about $7 or $8. You can do 10 or 12 bodies out of this can. So you're talking 50 cents a body. This is the stuff. It lays down flat because it's in the Krylon Color Max. It dries. Whoop, it's dry already. Basically, as soon as you shoot it, it's dry. And it's so matte that the satin is actually more matte. It's about, like, this has the Color Max over it. So, like, you see, there's no, what do they call it, specularity? It's just matte. There's basically no highlights to it. This, I went over the top with dull coat. So you see, there's no shine except on the windows. Do I have one that I have done with the Fusion? Off the top of my head, I can't think of it. There's too many bodies here. There's too many bodies here. And I painted 3 today, and that didn't even cut my... That basically didn't do it. There's an unpainted one on the bench. So, as per usual, if you have any questions about paints, like what about this paint you might want to ask, please do direct those to the comments below. Any other questions as well, direct those to the section of comments below. Thank you so much for joining us here in the Canyon today as I talked about paint, because I've inhaled a whole lot of it today, and I paint in an area so well ventilated, they call it outdoors. And I've still taken in definitely more paint than I should have. Thank you for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next time. In between now and then, please one and all do your very best. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next time here from the Canyon. If you got any questions about paint, I will do my very best to answer them.